Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today. Today is Monday, December 8th. We're going to take a look at the market action of today, which got a little volatile, got a little crazy for the first time in a while, at least to the downside. And then we're going to look at several stocks that were the high percentage losers for the day. Okay, let's start off here with the Dow Industrials, which was down 106, and at one point it was, down about 140 or so, I think, at one point. Now, the interesting thing is, again, we don't have a close below the 10, the blue line here, okay? But we're getting it on several of the other indices. Boy, the Dow has just been resistant. I don't know, it might be just some quirky things in terms of, one or two of the stocks within the Dow. I'm not sure, but, it's the Dow. When you look at, I know I wanted to look at here is, we are getting some divergence on the RSI, some divergence here on DI plus, and on the demand index. We pointed this out on Saturday, didn't change a whole lot. So, wouldn't be surprising if we start to get a little pullback here. S&P 500, now we're getting a second close, a close below the blue line for the second time in, 6 days? So we'll see if we get some continuation action. It's like another close and starting to get this thing rolling over. We'll see if that starts to happen or not. The NASDAQ was down 40, so almost 1%. We're getting, got a little bit of support, I think, came in here at the bottom of this low, 47.20. But again, we're closing below the 10. And let's go back to S&P 500. It hasn't gotten down to that point yet, but there may be some minor support that comes in around 2049, 2050, but it doesn't look like anything major in my opinion. So we'll just look to see New York Composite, and again, this is one that I really think. This one is doing its own thing, and it's doing different. And it's a broader measure of the market, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe this is even a truer measure of what's going on. This looks like corrective action, like a three-wave move here. And I know I talked about on Saturday how this was the closing high on July 3rd for the New York Composite. So then we got a corrective action, and this looks like a five-wave move up in here. So this looks like a truncated fifth wave to me. And then because this is clear that we're getting five waves down here, so I'm still on the New York Composite, the scenario of, say, a one wave down, a second wave back, a deep retracement, and now rolling back over is still not, out of the woods. That's a total realistic possible scenario here on the New York Composite. It seems to be doing a different thing. Russell 2000, look how this reversed today, okay? Up, higher, and then close all the way back down and close below here, here, and here. The closes of the last 3 days ended it. Let's see, the close here is 1168.45. Yes, so it closed below the low of the last 4 days, okay? That looks like a pretty strong reversal bar to me. And so, here's where support's going to come in potentially. This looks almost like some kind of a head and shoulders, but it's not pretty. It's not picture perfect, but doesn't matter. I'm just looking at the trend line for support in here, and we got a reversal bar. And again, coming off of this trend line that seemed to repel it. The trend line repelled the price action. Okay, short-term trading index. Got a pretty high reading intraday, the highest intraday reading which since October 16th. So remember this October 16th, October 15th stuff, because it's going to come back up here in just a minute. So our 10-day moving average is still right in the middle, although rising. CBO volatility index. Okay, I missed this on Saturday. Look at this divergence that's showing up in here between this close on Saturday. And we got this big pop today. This is over 20% move. Okay, this is a big move in the VIX, and And so, you know, the 10 is right up on top of the 21. It hasn't crossed, but this is a big move. It could be setting something up here. I mean, pretty strong. And remember how I think I mentioned in the post, things can change pretty quickly. And I think we're seeing that right now. So we'll just have to watch the high-low index breaking down. I still think this is rather ominous, that this high-low reading in here, net new highs minus net new lows, or it's the net of the new highs minus new lows, is not, you know, it's not confirming the move of the Dow and of the indices, you know, how they're all rising over the last month and this is dropping off and now we just went negative. And here's the other thing I want to point out. I was looking at the new lows, just the new lows by themselves. There were 306 more new lows today, okay, on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, that's the highest reading since over here on October 15th. Okay, that's the highest reading since October 15th. And so the other thing I was looking at, and I said to myself, so, well, wow, you know, how long did it take coming off of that September 19th high? Okay, so the peak on the market in September before it rolled over and we get that big down leg was on September 19th. And it was right in here, right here, okay? It took 15 days of trading before we exceeded the 306 level, okay? The level was right here, 254, then we got a 403 reading or 435 reading, okay? But it took 15 trading days before that happened. And so that's really, really, you know, kind of unusual to me that, so here it is, the 19th. We didn't exceed 300 new lows until like this day after this kind of drop. Well, we just exceeded 300 new lows one day after the high here. So I'm not quite sure what to make of it, except for the fact that it seems like we got more negative or got negative faster, much quicker than when we did back here in September. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see that, you know, the jump in the VIX, the number of new lows, you know, is this signaling something that's happening? And then when you see the high low, you know, that's negative like this, and you see the other thing, you know, the thing we were looking at with the high yield, okay, the high yield bonds, you know, continuing to sell off, okay. This is risk off. You know, it's like we're running away from this high yield stuff, this high risky stuff, okay? So, you know, this is going to come home to roost yet in this market. And maybe all of a sudden, maybe it's been ignored for the last, you know, couple, 2 or 3 weeks, and now all of a sudden it's going to come home to roost. I don't know. We're going to find out here this week, I think. So let's see. We looked at new lows. And the other thing I was going to look at is the semiconductor, which just caught my eye. The semiconductor market vector semiconductor ETF looks like it had a reversal bar in here today, and went to a higher high, and it came down here with a lower low, and it closed below the close of the last 3 days. Okay, so this looks like a pretty solid reversal bar. You know, it's not something that, again, it hasn't broken down, but I'm just saying it looks like a reversal bar, and sometimes you get it and it doesn't reverse. Or, you know, it just stalls out and continues on. I mean, this looks like a little bit of a reversal bar, and it kind of went sideways and then moved up, but we'll see. This got my attention, so I'll be watching some of these semiconductor stocks to see if they start to roll over or not. Okay, so that's it on the indicators and the market. Let's jump in and take a look at the number one. I think it was YNDX, which is just killing me because I got out of YNDX and the trade ideas. You know, it's like, okay, wonderful. All right, so we took our initial half profit in here. I got out of the second, you know, right around here, around 22.6, and then it just continues to plunge. Okay, and this is really plunging here. And, you know, and again, this is the thing that I always have difficulty with, and you're always going to be in this, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, could have stayed for more, you know, on and on. There's always going to be, you know, you could always have, you know, sold higher and bought lower, and, you know, in the reverse. So but this one is amazing to see how it's just dropping off. And so what have we got? It looks like we've got some kind of capitulation volume coming in now, although it's not the highest, but it's like the highest since back here in July 17th, when we had a big move to the downside, and then it went sideways for a while. I mean, we'll see. This is probably all related to the Russian ruble. Now, the other thing is, I mean, look at this RSI reading of 11. So whenever you start to think, oh, wow, it's really low on the RSI, I should buy. It's really low now, it's on the RSI, I should buy. It's like, just, you can't be doing that. You just, or now it's sold off. It's really low. Now I should buy, right? It's going to bounce, right? And the reverse, just because some stock's gone up for 2 or 3 days doesn't mean it's time to short it. Okay, and look at this trend, how it just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and rolled over. Okay, I mean, I'll grab my profits, because you can't argue with here in the cash register ring, but turning around and buying it is a totally different scenario. That I'm not going to do that. I mean, that's just not. You just never know where this is going to go. I mean, for all we know, this could be open at 15 tomorrow. Okay, let's move on to the second one. Okay, well, actually the second one on my list is Jinko Solar, and we talked about it yesterday. So that was the second biggest loser. The third biggest loser of the day is CREE. Now, these are of the 42 stocks I'm watching. Now, this was a trade idea, and yes, got into it this morning right at the opening in here. And yes, I did exit right in here at around, just actually about 15 cents above this low. I think somewhere around 31. The target, the initial target is 31.59, I think it was. And as it got around 31.60s and got really, really close and actually hit the target, of course it went a little below that, that's when I exited. Because I said, and I've had this happen to me before, where I set an initial target and it hits it right away in the very first day with the price action. And then I sat there and didn't grab the profit. And then it just bounced and moved away from me for whatever reason. I mean, it could have been something, freaky. I mean, you just don't know. So when my perspective is, if something gets handed to me this quickly, this fast, I'm going to take it. And then we'll just see what happens. We may get a snapback on this and may be able to go short again. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see. All right, so CREE, so that worked out. That was very nice. And the number 4, what was my number? Oh, number 4 is Apache. And again, I talked about Apache this weekend too, so I'm not going to show that one. Number 5 is US Steel. So this is the number 5 big percentage. And again, I saw this little flag in here, and boy, it was really, really tempting, but I decided to pass, and sometimes maybe I need to get a little more aggressive on some of these things. But I mean, this was a nice strong down move, and it caught in here at the 233-day moving average. It's kind of catching. It's right in the middle of this gap. So I mean, it may go all the way down here to a gap fill. Around here, 28 1/4, 28 1/2. The way this thing's going down. I mean, that would be my guess as to where it's heading. And number 6 is Twitter. And Twitter got a pretty big hit today, down 2.2. Broke this little line I had drawn, a little trend line. Actually had almost like a little wedge in here I was thinking of. And this point really isn't quite valid because it's not truly a pivot point in my mind. Not like this. But good enough to draw a little trend line on. And, we got this breakdown. So where is it? It potentially looks like it might be getting support in here. I mean, we bounced, it's right around 20, what is that, 36, where support came in here and here before. That's, it looks like that's what tried to happen here today. Let me see what else we got. I wouldn't call that divergence yet. I mean, we don't know if this is done going down. This is rising. So anyway, that's, it's this is continuing its downtrend. I mean, all the moving averages are aligned to the downside. Well, actually, the 55 is not below the 233 yet, but these are pretty solidly down. And I actually thought this might have been trying to turn right back up in here, but then it just, broke down and continued its plunge. So, we have had this, and I'm not sure, I think Pandora, and of course, Yelp was down big today, and exited part of the profits. Check the Trade Ideas webpage. Exit part of the profits on Yelp today, part of the position. So I still got half the position on Yelp. And what else? Adobe got stopped down on, very slight. I think it was a 12% loss. Frustrating. I thought it was going to go, but we're going to protect ourselves with a stop in here, and of course CREE we talked about. So I haven't walked through all the stocks yet. I'm going to do that this evening, see if there's a new trade idea. If there is, I'll put it on the Trade Ideas webpage. So again, if you're not a subscriber, just subscribe. First name and email gives you access to the Trade Ideas webpage, and you can download the free PDF I've got for you, and you get notified, of course, emails when new posts are published, etc. So anyway, that's it for tonight. We'll be back on Wednesday with another look at the market update. Everyone have a great Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll see what happens this week.